Halloween has always been my favorite night of the year. From its pagan origins to modern-day trick-or-treating, cheesy movies, and dressing up, I love it all. One time, on a Halloween night that seemed quite normal, my friends and I decided that we would go trick-or-treating. Honestly speaking, we were a bit older for it, but it was our tradition, and we always enjoyed it a lot. We were going from house to house, collecting candy and facing the strange looks from parents, who were clearly thinking that we were a bit too old for trick-or-treating. The group was quite large, and my crush was also there, making the night even more exciting. The houses we were visiting had high standard. They offered full-size candy bars, and every house was decorated with state-of-the-art Halloween decor. We reached the house that was going to be our final stop. I noticed a scary figure on the lawn. A tall person, wearing a white mask and black shade over the eyes, was standing there. It was hard to tell if it was a mannequin or a real person, because it was completely still. As I was passing by, it grabbed my hand. I literally felt like I was going to lose my life. The person spoke in a slow and soft voice from inside the mask. "Tag, you're it," and then ran towards the backyard. We all screamed and laughed and headed towards the front door to get candy. We thought it was a trick by the homeowners to scare trick-or-treaters. After getting the candy, I told the lady that the tall guy was very scary, but please tell him not to grab people so hard. The lady looked at me as if I had said something strange. When I asked her if everything was okay, she replied in a nervous voice, "You're the second girl to mention this today, but we didn't have anyone outside to scare people." I officially started feeling creeped out and ran back to my group of friends. Still, I thought it could be a prank played by that lady. Sometime later, a few people from our group went their separate ways, and I, along with some of my close friends, started heading towards my house. Then we thought, why not go past that house again to see if the tall guy is back or not? When we reached the house, it was completely dark, as if they had stopped giving candy or had left the house. Standing on the footpath, I looked into the backyard and saw that same tall person with the white mask standing there. He saw me and waved. My friends said to ignore it, that it's just a scare tactic. But when we got near my house, I saw that guy was following us. I shouted, "Hey, what's your problem?" Then we all took a turn and quickly hid, so he wouldn't see us. That's when my friends also realized that I was genuinely scared. Going inside the house, I felt a bit safer, and my mind drifted away from that scary person. We were all hanging out, trading candy, gossiping, and watching TV. Sometimes someone would joke, "Afraid of the tall man?" and everyone would laugh. When my friends left, I was getting ready for bed. I was sitting in my room, removing my makeup. That's when I looked out the window, and there in my backyard, that same man was standing. I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought, maybe I'm seeing things. I went down to the living room to get a better view. Now, that guy was near my back door and trying to shake the door handle. I shouted loudly for my dad. My dad came down immediately and called 911. The police were nearby, so they arrived in just 2 minutes. They arrested that guy and took him from the backyard to the police car. I will never forget his real face. When his mask was removed, his face appeared even more expressionless. A short blonde haircut, non-blinking eyes, and a completely shut mouth. As they placed him in the police car, he gave a creepy smile. A smile that reflected the misunderstanding in the mind of a strange person. Even today, I think about that Halloween night. Despite everything that happened, I am thankful that the situation didn't get worse.
I'm 26 years old now, and this happened about 10 years ago, but it still feels like yesterday to me. Let me give a little context first. When I was 13 years old, my height was 5 feet, 10 inches, and people often thought I was 16. At that time, I lived with my uncle Jared, his wife, 2 daughters, and my grandma. Jared ran a pool and spa business where he did repair and cleaning work and handled chemicals and supplies. They were very good at their work and people connected with them quickly. We lived in a nice area in Southern California where the weather was always sunny and it never got hotter than 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Jared had quite a few wealthy clients, one of whom was a middle-aged lady. One day, she invited Jared to her home for a Halloween party and said that his entire family could come too. Jared was crazy about Halloween, especially scaring people, and I liked it too. So, he invited me to the party as well. I didn't particularly like parties, but working in the haunted maze seemed very exciting, so I immediately agreed. The party was quite amazing, and the food was also good, but I mostly stayed around my family. About an hour before the maze was set to start, Jared and I went to get ready. Jared went to get ready in a vacant part of the house, and I went to the guest house. My job was to distract people in the maze. I wore a Victorian-style short dress covered in fake blood, giving the impression that I was hanging from a tree. The plan was to send one group at a time into the maze. I stayed in one spot stationary, distracting people while Jared, dressed as Michael Myers, scared them with a chainsaw. Their spot was across my path, hidden in the shadows. The maze work was going well, but after 30 minutes, everything changed. I was standing in the maze when I heard some voices. It was a group of about 5 men who were talking loudly, and from their voices, it seemed like they were quite drunk. I ignored it because alcohol was being served at the party. But at that moment, I started feeling a strange unease which I chose to ignore. I thought Jared would be nearby, so I didn't worry. Just then, one of them said, "Oh wow, she's looking cute." There were also some catcalls. That's when I realized they were talking about me. Because of the spotlight, I couldn't see much, and they were visible only up to 15 feet away. As they came closer, my anxiety increased. I was completely frozen there. They almost surrounded me, and one of them said, "Hey baby, come with us. It'll be fun." I shouted loudly, "Stay away from me." But they ignored me and surrounded me. One guy reached for my chest, but I forcefully pushed his hand away and said again, "Stay away from me." I wanted to run to find Jared, but they stopped me and said, "Aren't we good enough for you?" At that moment, I thought of screaming loudly, but I felt that people would ignore it, thinking it was part of the maze. Then the sound of a chainsaw was heard, and Jared appeared in the shadows as Michael Myers. He said, "What are you doing with my niece?" Seeing Jared, those people got scared. One man said, "Cool, brother, we're leaving." But before leaving, he stared at me and said, "See you later, babe," he said as he lightly touched my stomach and walked away. Jared yelled curses at them and chased after them, but I ran to him and broke down crying. Jared immediately called my grandma, and then we went to the hostess, but nothing could be done because there wasn't a proper description of those men. I work there now, but I'm never in direct view. I've learned one thing. Scaring like the Grudge by crawling is very effective. I have 3 pieces of advice for those working in haunted attractions. Being part of the party doesn't mean you won't get into trouble. Always stay near another worker. Always be aware of your surroundings, because those who are scaring might themselves be victims of a traumatic experience.